Some big winners on the PGA Tour, the LPGA Tour, and also a qualifier for the U.S. Women's Open we want to discuss today. Let's tee it up.
Welcome to Data Access Golf, your home for rapid golf improvement. And now, from the thin air of the Rocky Mountains, next on the number one tee, your host, Aaron Stewart.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Data Access Golf, the podcast coming to you live from Carmel, California, where I am currently participating in the Extraordinary Golf's Mastery Kickoff program. Good to be back with some really good people, some of the best people in the world, and some of these people, we've been working on our golf games with Fred Shoemaker for 10 years together. It's truly amazing. It's fun. It's like a big family reunion at this point, and we know each other so well that it's just, it's beautiful. It's awesome to be here, so I'm really having a great time, and missed it last year, and which probably makes this year a little bit more special. You start to, sometimes you take things for granted, and I will never take the opportunity to be with these people for granted again, if I ever did, which again, that's a big question as well. I don't think I ever have, but anyway, really cool day. One of the things I wanted to start with and share with you is one of the individuals in our group is part of a group that's supporting a young lady who's working on her golf game and trying to break into the professional ranks on the LPGA Tour. And they got some exciting news today. Her name is Megan Osland. And so we were, Kathy kindly shared with us the email. And this young woman, Megan Osland, has qualified, actually won the qualifying event to qualify for the 2019 U.S. Women's Open. It will be held May 20th through June 2nd at the Country Club of Charleston in Charleston, South Carolina. It's the biggest purse in golf with $5 million available, so we hope that Megan does very well, and we here at Data Access Golf will be cheering for her since we have kind of a connection there now. So good luck to you, Megan. So that's very, very cool. Obviously, the next thing we wanted to get into on Data Mondays, we always go through and talk about the data that kind of got the job done for those who win their tournaments on their tours. And obviously we had here very close to where I am now, up in San Francisco, where my good friend Elliot and I flew in and then drove down here to Carmel together. But up there in Lake Merced Golf Club, they had the LPGA Mediheal Championship going on, and it was an interesting tournament. The lead changed a lot, back and forth, and actually a little playoff at the end, and Sei Young Kim sure made it interesting, but eventually got it done in a playoff, and I believe had to birdie the last hole to get into the playoff, and actually shot over par. And anyway, but she did get it done. Sei Young Kim actually ended up winning the tournament. Prize money of that tournament was $270,000. Her average drive, again, this is at sea level, 269 yards. And accuracy off the tee, 64%. Greens in regulation, 69%. And her scoring average, again, it was a little bit all over the chart, and which was kind of interesting. But she averaged for the week, for the 4 days, 70.25. But that was enough to get it done. So congratulations to Sei Young Kim, another representative of South Korea. And they are strong, right? I mean, they have been playing very well all year long. So, okay, wanted to jump right in then to discuss Max Homa and his win this week. Just kind of a sort of a brief history on Max Homa. He is not. He did join the tour with a lot of sort of fanfare. We really expected more out of him out of the gate. When he got on the tour, he finished tied for 9th in the Fries.com Open. And that was his first event as a pro, and I think we all kind of thought, well, we're probably going to see a lot of this kid. I mean, he played at Cal State Berkeley, and just really looked like he had a solid game, and instead he's kind of struggled. He's lost his tour card twice, He had to earn it back again last year in fact, when we look at his numbers, they're not 2018 numbers to look at. So we'll be looking at his 2019 averages to see how he's performing against our benchmarks. But yeah, lost his tour card twice, earned it back again on the Web.com tour. So 2 wins on the Web.com tour, and then got the win there at Wells Fargo yesterday, and actually played really solid golf. And you'll see kind of these stats that we'll go over. It's kind of impressive and actually surprising. Just to start with, we'll go into his FedEx Cup rankings as we always do, but I thought it would be kind of interesting to jump back and take a look at his world rankings. So back in 2018, I was just kind of looking to see his world ranking had dropped all the way down to 1,282. And then he just sort of worked his way up. And going into 2019, he started, let's see, where was that? So yeah, he started out missing a few cuts. Actually, this year, he has, at one point, he missed 6 cuts in a row before finally making a cut in the Waste Management Phoenix Open. And this sort of worked his way kind of up. I mean, he was, at that time, when he was missing cuts, he wasn't really losing a lot of ground. But when he finally won at the Waste Management, he went from 854th up to 718th in world rankings. And then with the next subsequent tournaments, Genesis Open got him up to 481, the Honda Classic to 437. He actually went back one at the Valspar Championship, and then back another one at the Corrales Putacana Resort and Club Championship, and then to 413 at the Valero Texas Open. So he was 413th entering that tournament this week, and with the victory, his world ranking has jumped all the way up to 102nd. So that's a pretty cool jump right there in the world ranking, to go over 300 spots with the win here on the PGA Tour. So very, very cool there. And as we jump into the data that we are normally used to talking about, we'll start first, obviously, with the consistency numbers, which we love so much, but and the FedEx Cup. So Max Homa entered this tournament at 138th in the FedEx Cup ranking points, and he's jumped all the way up now to 35th with the victory. And Max has played in 69 tournaments on the PGA Tour, and he has made 26 cuts for a consistency rate of 38%, which is so low compared to all our other victors on tour this year. I thought that we weren't going to see anybody lower than Corey Connors, who makes 51% of his cuts. Yeah, but here we are with Max at 38% of his cuts, which is truly astounding. So to get it done away from left field, right? Nobody would expect Max to come in and get that win based on what he's looking, but he's been trending the right way. He's at least been making cuts the last 4 or 5 weeks. So what does that mean as far as his numbers go? We're going to go ahead and look at his numbers. And again, normally we would look at his numbers for his performance from this last week and then compare them to his 2018 numbers, so we had a full year of numbers, and those 2018 numbers were kind of where we established our benchmarks anyway. But can't do that. He wasn't on tour in 2018. He lost his card. So we're going to look at his 2019 numbers up to this point, which again gives us a pretty good, accurate view, honestly. So with his driving accuracy for this last week, he hit 55% of his fairways. And in 2019 to date, 55% of his fairways. And our benchmark, 55%. So all three of those line up at 55%, which is very rare. Just in case anybody's wondering, these benchmarks are really numbers that we compare our game against. We track our games and we compare them against these benchmarks, and we use them to decide what to work on as far as our game goes. So at 55%, Max Homa is right on the number. Working on his driver is probably not a bad plan for him. He could improve that a little bit. Just so everybody, we can legitimize these numbers. Those that hit fewer than 55% of their fairways, Rory, McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, and Tony Finau. So very interesting. It was fun to watch. Actually, it was fun to watch Rory, McIlroy, and Tony Finau play together because they both move it out there in such different ways. Rory has such a much longer swing and really uses a lot of ground force and goes at it. Where you've got Tony Finau with a much shorter swing and just uses his long levers to really move it out there. So really cool to watch. Two very different techniques to get the ball out there a long way in those two players. Okay, greens in regulation for Max. So for this week, he hit 68% of his greens in regulation. For 2019, 65%. Okay, and our benchmark, 65%. So for this week, he was above it, but for his 2019 averages, he's right on top of that 65%. And when we were looking at, the last person that we looked at that was so close to all this was Graham McDowell. He hit the numbers pretty closely as well. So sand saves for the week. This was interesting. 100% out of the sand for Max this week. So up and down was no problem from the beach. His average for 2019 to this point, 46%. So he actually played really, really well from the sand. Strokes gained putting. For this week, 2.472 strokes gained on the putting green per round. So what does that mean? It's essentially 10 strokes above the average on the field. So he putted very, very well, especially when you look at his average, it's 0.33. So he usually only picks up 1.3 strokes on the field. So to pick up essentially 10 strokes on the field on the putting green, he was hot with the putter. We can kind of see that his numbers everywhere else other than sand saves were pretty common, pretty average for him. So he got it done on the putting green for sure. Scrambling numbers, again, they don't really show this number anymore for the tournament but for 2019 he's at 62%. Our scrambling benchmark is 55%, so that's actually one where he's been quite a bit higher. Sand saves. His average, I would jump back there with his sand saves. So 100% obviously is perfect, but 46% is his average. Our benchmark is 45%. So again, Max hovering right there. That's the first time he's had a point over the benchmark. In scrambling, he's 7 points over the benchmark at 55%, up and down around the green. He's at 62. And then putting from 20 to 25 feet. We'll jump right into the putting. So so far this year, 12% from 20 to 25 feet, and our benchmark then is 9%. So 3 points higher than the benchmark there. 15 to 20 feet, he's actually pretty amazing. 27% of those putts. And just scanning up through the list, there's only one other person that's that high from that 50, that's won this year, that's that high from that distance, and that's Tiger Woods. So he's putting as well as Tiger Woods from 15 to 20 feet. And Tiger Woods and Max Homa are by far on this list the best putters from that distance. From 10 to 15 feet, Max is making 32% of his putts, and our benchmark is 28%. Not too much higher there, just 4 points. Right, so he's been pretty close. It's really that 15 to 20 feet. He's just quite a lot above average. I mean, he's pretty impressive at that point. 5 feet he makes, and this is at 5 feet he makes 77% of his 5-footers. Our benchmark for that is 80%. So he is actually lower than our benchmark for 5-footers. So he makes 27%, 10 points higher than our benchmark from 15 to 20 feet, and he's actually below our benchmark from 5 feet. So of everything that we're looking at here, he'd have to work on, we would suggest that he works on his 5-footers. We would suggest that he works on his sand saves. And there's nothing wrong with working on your driving accuracy and your greens and regulation when you're right on that number. That's our benchmark. That's kind of the lowest place we'll go. So, and then as far as putts per round, 28.94. Our benchmark there is 30. So he's inside the benchmark there. And then now we'll jump down to so I guess you could say Max Homa has some work to do in his game to get his numbers up. He's got some areas in his game that could be worked on, and that's what those benchmarks are for all of our games. So now let's jump into, I just wanted to look at these numbers here. So the money. Essentially, so with the win, Max has won $1.422 million. His total score was 269. That means that he made per day, the 4-day tournament, $355,000 per day, which works out to be $71,000 per hour, assuming a 5-hour round. And that means $5,200, almost $5,300 per stroke from that 269 strokes. Now, his career money, this was an interesting... So he's made $2.5 million as an entire career. So he made 1.4, right? So before that, he more than doubled his total money by winning this tournament. So if you look at that, we've been breaking this out the last few weeks. If you look at that, his total career money is $2.38 million. On 26 events, he's made 26 cuts, as we talked about before. That averages out to be $92,000 per event. However, you take that win out, then his total money is $967,555. And he's made 25 cuts without that one last week, right? And that equals out to be about $38,702 per tournament in his career before this win. So this win literally raised him up $50,000 per event over the course of his career, raised his average up really well. So it's got to feel good, right? To secure, again, when you see these guys win their first tournament, it's really cool because you know that they've secured their card for a few years. And for somebody like this that's lost his card twice, who's making cuts at a rate of 38%, this was probably not something that realistically, I think always in the back of your head you think you're going to win. But, he just didn't have the data to make him feel very confident for sure. Other than he started trending right the last 4 or 5, but nothing where he was sniffing the lead. So super impressive, and he played well. Really thought he would crumble, and he just stayed up there and played well, and really everybody else fell apart around him. He stayed pretty strong. Was surprised to see Rory McIlroy struggle. Max was just playing the best out of everybody, and he did it with a super hot putter. 10 strokes on the field with his putter. So congratulations to Max Homa. I thought it was a great win. Really cool to see. Yeah, it's just kind of cool to see somebody who came out with so much expectation and then sort of fell away, lost his card twice, and just sort of persevered and came back and got it done. Awesome. Really, really cool. Not a big Cal State Berkeley fan. Yeah, for a lot of reasons. I spent a day there, felt like a week. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Thank you for joining us today. I'm looking forward to some more. We've got some more of the golf school tomorrow. I've got some things to talk about, things that we're learning and working on. I'm really excited about that, and good stuff going on here. And thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this is Aaron Stewart. Remember, please, better data always means better golf. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Data Access Golf with Aaron Stewart. Check us out online at dataaccessgolf.com, and we'll see you on the next episode.